Hi everyone, welcome to this Academy on Air on pro tips for search campaigns, specifically over the Black Friday, Cyber Monday holiday season. We're really happy to have you guys here. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Harry and I am an account manager in the Accelerated Growth team here at Google. And this is Jamie.
Hi guys, thanks everybody for tuning in what hopefully will be a really practical guide on how to capitalize on Black Friday. I work as well with Harry within the UK market with direct clients, so probably a lot of similar businesses to yourselves. So yeah,
we'll be taking you through some tips and tricks just to get you guys as prepared as possible for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and into the Christmas season. Let's take it away.
Cool. So today, as mentioned, hopefully you'll come away with some real practical takeaways, some tips and tricks to not only capitalize on the peak that is going to be both Black Friday and Cyber Monday, but also the days leading into it and after the actual festive season. And yeah, there will be plenty of time at the end for a Q&A. So if you do have any questions, feel free to add them to the end of the question list and we will get to them in full.
Cool. So Black Friday and Cyber Monday, tips and tricks. So a bit of data that we've collected actually tells us that only around 18% of users consolidate all of their shopping to the Black Friday and Cyber Monday weekend. And to reiterate that, 42% of users have already completed their festive shopping by the Black Friday and Cyber Monday weekend. So this just tells us that the urgency to start preparing for the most important time of the year for a lot of you retailers out there is to start straight away and really get on top of things now, because the customer journey has already started and is starting round about now. So we need to make sure that we are capturing all of these users that are potentially interested in purchasing from you right away, because only 18% of them are actually purchasing on the Black Friday weekend itself. Similarly to that, more than 50% of consumers are interested in seeing personalized content when shopping. So, it goes without saying, but the guys that are searching for your products, they only want to see the relevant products to them. So this is when remarketing is really crucial to make sure you're re-engaging those users who have been to your site and they're searching again and are really interested in purchasing from you. And consumers only want relevant deals from sites that they regularly shop from, or a reminder of where they left off when they last visited the site. So remarketing, audience lists for re-engagement, and customer match, which will come on in a bit more detail, is going to be absolutely crucial to take advantage of this busy holiday season.
Cool. So I guess high level, these are probably some of the main takeaways that we're hoping that will land with a lot of you retailers. And we're going to go into more detail on each point. But one big area that I talk with a lot of advertisers every day is ensuring that they will have sufficient budget for the peaks in both Black Friday and Cyber Monday. I guess the key takeaway here is to start that conversation, maybe look back on last year within your Google AdWords account, see what the spike was, and hopefully, by the process of planning and expecting the demand and increase that we're looking to achieve, we will have enough to capitalize on the extra queries. It is going to be very competitive, so we want to make sure we're there in the right times for the relevant customers. And as Harry mentioned, there is a large research period involved now. It's gone away from this one-day event, and ultimately it's actually the weeks leading up and after the festive season. So, there is a lot of easy wins that we can actually do within the account, ensuring that we have the right extensions. And Harry's going to talk through a bit more detail about the importance and the practicality of extensions. Actually, it doesn't take that long, but it has a tremendous knock-on effect to not only your quality score, but ultimately the actual appeal of your ads online.
Yeah, and so again, these are going to be the points that are really crucial takeaways from this presentation. And further to what Jamie said, leveraging dynamic search ads will be absolutely critical because this is going to be the way to capture that longer tail traffic. So anything that slips through the net and really show relevant ads to those users that want to see them. and remarketing lists for search ads, which we'll come on to a little bit more detail, to create more personalized and relevant ads for returning visitors. And the last point is to relax target CPAs and target return on ad spend, so TCPA and ROAS, to capture additional traffic. And this is such a big one for us because auto bidding is so highly recommended now in the holiday season, because the machine learning is now so advanced. We're being told by the engineering teams that this year you could even adopt machine learning smart bidding strategies a week prior to Black Friday, and it would have learned quick enough to really capitalize on that increase in traffic and increase in conversion rates. So when we say relax, we're talking about if you have a target cost per acquisition of £5, and you're expecting a huge increase in volume or an increase in conversion rate, say an increase in conversion rate from 2 to 4%, then relaxing that target CPA from £5 to £10 to account for that is just going to give that machine learning bidding strategy a bit more room to play with, and take in that extra volume that we're expected to see over this peak season. And similarly for ROAS, in that same scenario, you'd be looking at a 500% ROAS if you were expecting double the traffic. Relaxing that ROAS bid to around 250%. So it almost becomes a little bit more aggressive than what it's used to. But that's just going to let you capture all the additional traffic and be just as profitable.
Yeah, and I think the big point there as well, Harry, is there's so many signals within each auction now. In the past, it was very much a case that you'd have keywords, you'd have bid adjustments, but I guess the auctions have been so much more complex now. We have signals coming from demographics, audience lists, and we as humans just can't compete with the machine learning in terms of the quality and the accuracy of signals that it can pick up on. So really what we're recommending here, and we'll go into a bit more detail, but if there is enough data within the account from a conversion standpoint, and there's a couple of checks that we can ensure that, you check prior to moving to automated bidding. But, if you're missing out on some impression share in a couple of auctions and you have sufficient data from a conversion standpoint within the account, really it's about giving back you as advertisers some time to focus on more strategic initiatives within the business, and hopefully let this do the hard work for you, to capture that additional traffic.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and another massive trend we're seeing within the industry, and all our research points to this, is the importance of mobile. I can't overestimate or underestimate, the importance of it. Even myself, looking around, how often I'm on my phone throughout the day, it's almost embarrassing. And I know, a lot of you on the other side of the screen would probably be the same if you look around. No matter where you are in the world, if you're in a tube, everybody's just looking down on their phone. This is replicated from what we're seeing in the trends here at Google. Queries are increasing year over year, and actually mobile searches containing Black Friday have increased 80% over the past the 2 years. So what's a recommendation there? How can we actually capitalize on that? If you are on manual bidding, ensure that at the very least, you're increasing your mobile bids. The great thing about automation, again, is that it will pick up on these signals. It will know that mobile will be profitable throughout this season. But hopefully it's just to, capture that extra demand on mobile, be there when your customers are searching for you. And one really cool tip, it's a free tool we have at Google, Test My Site Speed. I use it with a lot of my advertisers, and I know Harry does as well on a day-to-day basis, just to really show them how much they may be missing out on from a visitor loss perspective in relation to their mobile speed. So it might be worthwhile checking in as well. Are we prepared and are we ready to capitalize on this peak? And if not, let's start that conversation with your colleagues in work. What can we do to actually make sure we're fully optimized on mobile and that it's loading so that our customers have a unique and a really good experience once they actually land on the website.
Yeah, mobile is so important. And another thing that is incredibly important is almost, going back to basics and considering your extensions. They really can't be overlooked. And so if you don't know, extensions are essentially add-ons to your search ads, which will appear underneath your search text ad. and they really give you a nice bump in quality score the more extensions you have, because they can be more relevant to the search query that that particular user is trying to find. And they really do give you that additional space, so more real estate on the search page, so you can almost dominate the search results, and give you that sort of, you know, head up against those competitors. But some really key extensions that you should have live for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and all the way through the holiday season would be promotion extensions. So these are fairly new, but absolutely fantastic extension. You can add a promotion extension, and you can literally say Black Friday sale. You know, you can put a discount code, you can put the date it starts and the promotion ends. But it's a really enticing extension if you are offering a good sale or a discount or whatever it is, to get users to click on that extension there. And obviously it's a really nice bump in quality score for the overall ads as well. If you're an e-commerce or retailer, price extensions are crucial as well. So you can break these price extensions out into different categories or brands of the products that you sell. But again, you know, it gives those users, you know, a really clear idea of what they're actually clicking into and clicking through onto your website. So it allows them to have an informed decision before they click through. And, you know, if the price is right for them, then that's when they'll be clicking through. And obviously you only get charged when the click happens. Call out extensions, again, crucial if you've got any USPs that you'd love to get across. So free delivery is a great example, or mainland delivery, whatever it may be. Make sure you've got those call out extensions added in. And then finally, site links. So this would be where you can have you know, set pages of your website added as an extension. So if you do have a Black Friday, Cyber Monday, or Christmas landing page, you can set the site link in to direct that particular searcher straight to that page. So really relevant, really useful. Having all of these 4 extensions added is, you know, really important, not only for quality score and real estate on the search page, but it's really going to help you capitalize on the right traffic when it's searching.
Yeah, great points, Harry. And I think on the point of site links, you know, if we think of user behavior, the less clicks that we can get customers to get to the point that they want will ultimately help us improve our bounce rates and conversion rates. So, you know, it sounds really basic, but actually, if we do get all of these things right, you should see a notable increase in both your quality score, but also your bounce rate. So, you know, more people are going directly to the site where they want to be, where your products are offered, and what's essentially most profitable for your business. So a really key point as well there, just get the basics right, ensure, you know, the bids on mobile are competitive, and hopefully you will have a really successful Black Friday and Cyber Monday period. Yeah, and I guess on that point, like, we are going to see an increase in traffic over this festive period. There's a couple of strategies depending on what you are utilizing within the account that we'll quickly run through for you to capitalize on this. So Harry mentioned earlier, returning users are actually twice as likely to purchase. And that's, I guess, it almost seems like common sense, but in a lot of accounts you look at, you know, it isn't there and it's not present. So how can we ensure that we are bidding on returning users? You know, throughout this period prior to Black Friday, people are researching. And what we want to do is re-engage with as many of those customers as possible. And a really quick way to do that is just by ensuring that we have remarketing lists attached to all of our campaigns. Now, how do we do that? You'll find it within the audience manager section within the account. And it's a really easy step to apply to the campaign, you know. And when we are using manual bidding, ultimately what we want to do is relax the bids to ensure that we are capitalizing on these returning users. So as Harry mentioned, similar with the automated bidding, we want to just increase the bids because these are more profitable customers. They're returning, they've done their research, and now they're ready to buy. And you need to show in that auction. And how you do that is ultimately by just having remarketing lists in place, but also ensuring that we bid competitively on them because they are very profitable customers for your business. Now, as Harry mentioned as well, you might want to look at adjusting your auto bidding strategies. So target CPA, as I mentioned already, in relation to if you have enough data within the account, and if impression share, you're not quite entering as many auctions as hopefully you want to, we can actually set a CPA that you're happy with paying for, and ultimately try get more volume at that CPA within each auction. Similarly, what we can do, and for both search and shopping, we can set a percentage that you're happy with achieving. So ROAS, excuse the jargon, it's simply return on ad spend. So what are you happy with spending? Let the automation do the hard work for you from a bid perspective. But what we want to do is just relax it a bit, as Harry mentioned earlier. So decreasing your ROAS or increasing your target CPA, to ultimately capitalize on the volume that's in the auctions. But yeah, also, like Harry, why would you want to move to maximize conversions?
Yeah, so maximize conversions it's a fantastic bidding strategy if, say, you're completely limited by budget and you really can't uncap that budget any further, and it will then recognize that and instead start to focus on maximizing your impression share within that campaign, and really try and get you as many conversions as possible within your limits. It will still apply the same machine learning algorithms as there are in the likes of target CPA, to optimize towards conversions if you've set some good conversion actions in the account. But it's a really great strategy to be as aggressive as possible in your limited budget campaign. And I thought you mentioned a really good point there, Jamie, on returning users as well. And just to add to that, if you do want to be, really going after as many conversions and sales as possible over the peak season, then even looking to apply similar audience lists to those RLSA and returning users will be a great idea to go after a completely new set of users, but who are targeted in the sense that they have showed really similar characteristics online to those users that have already been to your website. So lots of signals will be taken into account there, and those lists should be pre-populated in your account if you do have returning visitor lists as well. Really, really good way to go after as many potential customers as possible during the peak season.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. I think it's always best to find a good mix between, yes, re-engaging with our existing visitors, but there's so much opportunity within this period to acquire new customers as well for your business. And if you think of the lifetime value of some of these new customers, it's a really good time to trial these similar lists in line with the audience strategy that you're currently utilizing.
Perfect. So audience and creative strategy is also crucial, particularly over this important time. And dynamic search ads are a great way to capture incremental traffic from new search queries. So if any of you guys aren't familiar with dynamic search ads, or DSAs, as we call them, they are essentially ads which will show a dynamic headline according to what the search query actually is from the user. So if someone types into Google, red socks, then in your search headline of your ad, it will say red socks buy here if that page is relevant to your website. And the indexing works in the way that Google will take an index of your entire website and break it down into categories, so that it can then reflect back into the search terms that the user types. So it's a great way to capture longer tail keyword traffic. So perhaps if you think you might be missing out on all the potential traffic, and your keywords aren't capturing the total amount of traffic, then it's a great way to pick up on incremental volume on anything that sort of slips through the nets. And it's also a great way to show really relevant ads to that specific user who's searching for your product. And similarly, to add to that, as Jamie mentioned there before, pairing these DSAs with returning customers, and so remarketing lists is a fantastic way just to capitalize on relevant ads for relevant users at the right time. And so implementing these strategies sooner rather than later is going to really help you capture these customers as early as you can in the sales funnel, before they then eventually purchase later down the line.
Cool. So now a couple of tricks throughout the actual festive season. Yeah, so actually, I thought this was a really interesting stat that 34% more shopping searches are done on Christmas Day than on Black Friday. Now, what is that telling us? Ultimately, it's, as I mentioned earlier, you know, there is a massive research period throughout the next week or two. Ultimately, people will be trying to find deals for both Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and after. But actually, 48% of shoppers are still actively searching after Cyber Monday. So, you know, whilst it is a peak day or two, you know, in the days after Cyber Monday, there's still going to be searches, and we need to be there for those last minute searchers and capitalize on potentially, you know, less competitive auctions as well. You'll get potentially cheaper CPCs, and make sure you're showing for those customers who, you know, leave it last minute. I've been there myself at times. And yeah, I think there's just massive opportunity, not only throughout the 2 days that are Black Friday and Cyber Monday, but in the days leading after. And yeah, how can you actually do that? I mentioned earlier in relation to budgets, a lot of the advertisers I speak to on a day-to-day basis bring this question up to me: should I actually stop spending after Cyber Monday? And look, if the traffic isn't going to be there, you won't end up spending. But as I have just said, you know, ultimately there is last minute shoppers, and meanwhile, you know, these auctions may be less competitive, you can actually gain a lot of new customers within those auctions. And combining that budget strategy with ensuring, as Harry mentioned, you get the basics within the account right. So, you know, use it to your advantage and leverage all of the extensions that we have available. You know, we mentioned 4 today. There's a lot more than that, but I think 2 key points to take away specifically for this festive season would be the promotion extensions that, you know, you can set those dates on it. In the past, you would have had to like add a lot of text to like all of your campaigns for this to actually showcase. So a really cool new way to ultimately, you know, let it do the work for you. And site links as well, from a quality score perspective. Build out your ads as best you can, and that will do the work for you. So trying to find that balance between budget and getting the basics right.
Yeah, and that's, again, I know to reiterate, but it's a really great point on keeping those budgets, you know, at a really good level right up until the end of the holiday season, because last minute shoppers are out there. Me and Jamie are last minute shoppers, you know, all the way up into Christmas Eve. So, and, you know, it's a great point that if people aren't searching for you, then, you know, they're not going to click on your ad and you're not going to pay for anything. But that's the brilliant sort of thing about search, is that it's only driven by intent of users trying to find certain products or services that you're offering. And so if they are searching for you, then why not have your doors open to sell to them? So yeah, keeping those budgets increased throughout the whole in sort of holiday season will be really important. And then again, so doubling down on customers who purchased last year using customer match. So similar sort of strategy to remarketing on the search network. Customer match is when you actually have your own data that you can input into the system. So let's take, for an example, a retailer or an e-commerce website where you can create your own account. So pulling together, you know, all of those email addresses, you can actually upload a list of customer match, say, email addresses into Google Ads, and then you can start to retarget those customers, and you can work out, you know, did these customers purchase this time last year? And if they did, then potentially they're going to be very interested in purchasing from you again because they're familiar with you and it's that time of the year again. And you can retarget them using search. Gmail is another great one, and YouTube, as well as shopping. So if you do have that data, then absolutely put it to good use. It's a great time to use it. And then again, to reiterate, making sure your bids are relaxed on target CPA and ROAS. You know, it's going to give the smart bidding as good a chance as possible to perform, and keeping them relaxed throughout the entire holiday season is just going to give it the headroom to place its bids where it really wants to. So yeah, that's a huge recommendation from us as well.
Yeah, as we mentioned, last minute shoppers, myself and Harry, fall victim of this. But ultimately, the question that I would ask you is, if it was 5 o'clock and there was queues of shoppers outside your door, would you close them? And I know a lot of advertisers throughout their busiest period, their most profitable period of the year, would probably say, no, we'd love to keep them open. You know, ultimately, it comes down to that. There will be volume within the auctions, even after your busiest days. So I guess based on logistically and operationally for the businesses themselves, if you do have legroom to actually keep those doors open, there will be volume there, and capitalize on it. You know, from a user acquisition standpoint and lifetime value of these customers, hopefully they'll come back to you next year and the year after. The fantastic thing about gathering data within lists and customer match lists is we can reuse all that data. So whilst it may be useful now, and maybe, you know, for Christmas, there may be periods throughout the year where you run seasonal sales and you can use that data again. So be there when last minute shoppers are shopping, gather as much data within the account that you can, and use it again to good effect to ensure that it is a really profitable season for you. And yeah, I know I talked a bit about mobile and why it's important, but I think just to link it with the research period. So, you know, 13 days on average, people are considering now to buy an item. But actually, once they come to that critical point where they've decided what they want, they kind of half expect that within that day or the next day, they'll be able to receive that product. So based on, you know, the ability for your own businesses on shipping, I would ensure that that's actually utilized within the extensions, as Harry mentioned. That is a unique selling point if it is a capability of the business. But mobile searches, it'll tell you the growth within this space. Same day delivery have grown 120%, that exact query, since 2015. So, you know, be there when people are searching on mobile by ensuring that the basics are met, that you're bidding competitively on mobile. And if you do have that unique selling point to actually deliver on the same day or maybe the next day, ensure that it is within your site links, because there is going to be a lot of these queries throughout this period, and it could be very profitable if you do replicate that within your bids, your text, and also your mobile and site performance.
I think it's something crazy about mobile. I think a fact was over 50% of users actually drop off. They bounce if the site doesn't load within 3 seconds. Just to give you an example of, you know, the expectation of customers these days. So mobile really is at the forefront, and it's often at that very final hurdle of their decision journey. So making sure you're all set up on mobile is crucial. And do reach out to your account manager if you do want to have a consultation on your site speed. And these guys will be able to give you a full review of how to increase the mobile site speed for you. And it's a very practical call as well. So again, just to reiterate, you know, leveraging promotion extensions to highlight discounts, absolutely critical. Keeping these on throughout. Call out extensions to highlight free overnight same day delivery, because, you know, customers expect to know when their product is going to be delivered. It's a key part of their decision making process. And then site links as well to direct them to best selling or seasonal products. So if you have you know, a discount page, or again, you know, a Christmas or a Black Friday page, you know, having a site link extension for those pages is going to be really relevant for those customers, and also give them a really nice bump in landing page relevance as well to increase your quality score there. So a good little case study, and in fact, we definitely recommend checking out the Think with Google website, because there are loads of great case studies of strategies that have worked for previous advertisers, particularly around the holiday season. And a fantastic one was the Children's Place. So a gift shop for children. So absolutely perfect advertiser to capitalize on Black Friday and the Christmas season. They actually leveraged customer match on search specifically to reach out to customers who purchased from them last year. And because they had account details and emails, all they simply did was add this customer match list into Google Ads and set up a remarketing campaign to show those previous customers and purchasers really relevant ads, which were going to entice them back in this year around to purchase again. They used it during the back-to-school season to reach customers who purchased the year before, and the results were phenomenal. 285% increase, higher return on investment, and 153% increase in conversion rate. So, if you are expecting a huge volume increase or conversion rate increase over a seasonal peak, leveraging customer match and relaxing your target CPA and auto bidding targets is really going to help you leverage that and capture the incremental traffic.
Yeah, fantastic results. And I think a conversation I have with advertisers every day when I do discuss audience strategies with them, sometimes they think of it as a cost, but I'd like you to think of audience strategies as an investment, really, because as we mentioned, they're twice as likely to convert and purchase on their second visit to the website through remarketing. Now through customer match, we've got a completely new way, again, that we can utilize some offline data that we have within Google Ads to profit on cheaper cost per conversions, higher ROI, and essentially from a volume standpoint, just ensuring that these customers stay with us throughout this festive season.
So again, coming back to this point over and over again, and it is because it is so important. Returning visitors are twice as likely to convert. That is a massive stat. So making sure your RLSA lists are not only applied, but also the bids for those customers are relaxed. If you're on manual bidding, smart bidding will take it into account and understand the value of these returning customers. A fantastic way to, look at the data as well on the value of these returning visitors will be in your analytics account as well. You can simply go onto the audience tab and look at returning visitors and how often they purchase and how they compare to new users, for instance. But it's a really good data point to go off to understand the value of them. Relaxing target CPA and ROAS targets to maximize conversions, absolutely crucial, as mentioned throughout, and increasing your budgets to make sure those auto bidding strategies have enough headroom to bid up for likely converters based on the signals it's taken into account, and bid down when it recognizes an unlikely converter. But I once remember when I was learning the ropes for all of these auto bidding strategies, an engineer saying it's essentially having target CPAs like having 100 data scientists work specifically on one of your campaigns for you. And honestly, that is how effective it can be. It can save you a lot of time. I know a lot of you would perhaps, rather be in the warehouse helping get orders out, or busying yourself somewhere else. Letting auto bidding do the work for you, and often effectively as well, is a fantastic solution. And when we're expecting a peak in traffic and volume, it's the best time for it to learn.
Yeah, exactly. And I know we keep going back to the importance of returning users. Harry mentioned within the analytics account, your analytics account, you will be able to load in populated lists such as returning users. But actually one trick or tip would be that there is pre-populated lists within your analytics accounts. They're called engagement pacts, specifically for retailers as well. And there's, depending on your strategy, there's a lot of different lists that you could be utilizing based on time spent on the website, or the last 30 days or 60 days visits to the website. So it might be worthwhile, reaching out to your account manager or checking in online with our Think with Google studies, just to double check to see, can you find more details on this and if it would be applicable for your business. So again, to give you back a bit more time and to use some resources that are there at the moment. So as we mentioned, throughout the festive season, it's going to be hopefully very profitable for all of your businesses. But again, after the festive season, we need to be there when people are searching. And we have a couple of tips and tricks that are not too dissimilar that we've already discussed, but hopefully some real actionable takeaways.
Yeah, so one big recommendation with us is to continue with the campaigns for post-festive season shoppers. So, all the way into the new year, into January, the campaigns would have done the hard work. They would have, the smart biddings would have done the learning So keeping the lights on, because people are shopping, all year round. And Jamie mentioned a really good point earlier. If people are queuing outside your shop after 5 o'clock, but you're closing the doors, what's the point? So continue with the campaigns to get the longevity out of them, and keeping your bids competitive for post-festive season traffic as well. So we mentioned relaxing your bids, particularly over the spikes, the seasonal spikes and the peaks, but keeping these competitive will be crucial as well. So not immediately putting them back down to what they were previously, but keeping them slightly competitive coming into the new year is a really big tip from us.
So yeah, as we mentioned, let's keep the lights on after the festive season. Where to buy. Search increases all the way up until the 23rd of December. They recover pre-Christmas week levels, but they remain steady for the final week of the year. So while most of this presentation and Hangout has been focused on Black Friday, Cyber Monday, we also realized that, Q4 as a whole will be a massive season for every single one of your businesses. So as Harry rightly mentioned, a lot of the hard work will be done within the campaigns. You'll have the basics done. You'll have mobile bids adjusted. And if you are using automated bidding, we'll have sufficient data within the campaigns for it to actually profit, improve, and maybe you can actually adjust the targets then based on the CPAs that you're receiving or not receiving. But I think the real message here is the hard work could be done post Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Let's continue that momentum, keep the basics right, and really make sure it's a profitable, not only Black Friday and Cyber Monday, but also Christmas period and Q4 as a whole. And again, this has been mentioned 4 times, but it's just to reiterate how important it is. Some key takeaways. Obviously, let's re-engage with those customers who have not yet made a conversion on our website. If you are using manual bidding, relax the bids. These customers are very profitable for us. So, let's double down on that. Also, relax automation if you are expecting an increase in conversion rates. Maybe take a hit on CPA to gather as much volume as possible if we're thinking more lifetime value rather than optimizing in CPAs. And as Harry mentioned as well, maximize conversions can be a fantastic bidding strategy to really just get as much volume as possible and ensure that there is sufficient budget within the campaign.
Yep. So to recap on the 4 key points to really nail down and sort out for the holiday season. It's the most important time of the year for a lot of you advertisers out there. And so if there's 4 takeaway points to really, drill home, these are the ones. So firstly, ensure that you have enough budget to support the increase in traffic before, during, and after the festive season. This is really going to allow your campaigns to maximize their value, and especially those with smart bidding on, it's really going to allow them to have the headroom to adjust bids where necessary and perform the best it can. Back to basics, leveraging extensions to highlight festive promotions, but also maximize your quality score and you're competitive in the ad auctions and your real estate on the search page. Site links, promotions, price, call out extensions, and any other promotions that you can get apply them as soon as possible. Leveraging dynamic search ads to show really tailored and relevant ads to users that are searching for your products. And also, make sure you're capitalizing on the longer tail keywords that you perhaps aren't picking up in your existing search and shopping campaigns is crucial. And then re-engaging with returning visitors, because these guys are twice as likely to purchase from you. And they want to, but the stats say that they want to purchase from websites they're familiar with and they've bought from before. So making sure that you're visible for these users via RLSA and customer match to re-engage them will be absolutely critical. And then finally, probably the 5th time mentioned throughout the presentation, but relaxing your auto bidding targets to capture the additional traffic. is really going to help you stay on top of the volume increase and the conversion rate increases you're expected to see. So I think that brings us to an end of this particular presentation. So thank you so much for listening. I believe we may have some questions in a Q&A. So we'll just have to pull up the screen a little bit.
Yeah, so we got that. Perfect.
So yes, we got a question here. So from Lise, apologies if I've pronounced that wrong. How do you recommend choosing the attribution model to ensure smart bidding works best if data-driven attribution is not available? Are there any specifics to consider during the holiday season?
Yeah, I'll take that one. So I guess in terms of attribution, what we're always recommending is, if possible, data-driven would be the perfect match specifically for retailers. But as you mentioned, you know, a lot of accounts won't have sufficient conversion data within the account to actually qualify for utilizing data-driven. One really good recommendation, I think, would be to ensure that you're moving away from a last click approach. If you think about it, with a last click approach, we're not seeing the full customer journey. You know, cross-device activity is obviously going to be very high throughout this period. We mentioned mobile searches. You know, they're going to be clicking throughout 13 days prior throughout that research phase. And when they come to that critical point, we don't want to just you know, give all the credit to that last click. One analogy I always like to use as a football fan would be, you know, why should strikers or forwards in football always take the credit for that goal? Where, you know, actually in a lot of cases it could have been, you know, the right full back might have passed it to a centre midfielder, and, you know, a really nice play, a dribble past a couple of players, and then the striker is taking all of the headlines. It's a bit similar if we think of last click within Google Ads, and actually one that I recommend always utilising if data driven isn't applicable will be a time decay model. So you're still getting that last click data and touch point, but you're getting far better information and more in-depth information about the customer touch points along that journey.
Yeah, that's really good answer. And I'd say, just to add to that, it really does depend on your business model, which attribution model you decide to go with and what conversion action you're tracking. A really good way to just dive into the data a little bit more to help you make an informed decision would be to look at the time lag. So how long it takes from, you know, when a user first sees your ad to when they actually convert with that conversion action, to see how long it takes. And you can see that in the Google Ads interface by clicking into the conversion action, and then on the left-hand side, paths and time lag. And you can actually see the breakdown of, you know, where the majority of clicks happen. And that will help you make an informed decision on which attribution model is going to be the best fit for your business. But we would recommend moving away from a last click because, you know, that doesn't give a holistic overview of, you know, the customer journey. It's not realistic. And if we do start to move away from last click and eventually to data driven, that all that data starts to feed back into the machine learning and smart bidding, and it becomes even more effective. So hope that helps answer your question there. So another question: if smart bidding takes the user's audiences into account as well, for example, the user isn't past visitors, then wouldn't having a specific RLSA campaign be unnecessary? So smart bidding will take your audience lists into account, but essentially it goes that one step further. So it will understand which audience lists are more effective than others, and over time help prioritize where to be placing the bids to maximize the value within the campaign. So yes, you know, what I would be doing is adding your audience lists into the campaign at an observation level, so that the smart bidding can factor in those audience lists when choosing, you know, which bids to go after, without getting too technical on that.
Yeah. And I think the main thing takeaway there as well is to give the automation as much relevant signals as possible. So it's going to pick up on all of the signals, but ultimately, you know, within the audience manager section within your account, there are audience lists there that, you know, we can apply very simply, 2 clicks of a button, as Harry mentioned, tick the box left of it, add to the campaigns and at an observation setting. And a byproduct of this then is that the automation will pick up on these are returning users, and that we will essentially relax those bids for when these customers are searching within that specific auction.
Yeah, absolutely. So question from Emlyn here, how exactly do I create customer match lists? Great question. And so this essentially is your own data. So it will be where you have a list of, say, 1,000 email addresses that you've collected in your own data, perhaps when people have signed up to your website online, created accounts or so on. And then once that is, say, you know, in an Excel spreadsheet format, it's really easy to upload that list, and you can simply do it via the audience manager. And there's a nice big blue button within the audience manager where you can click and it will give you the option to upload a customer match list into your audience manager listings, and then you can choose to apply that list into any specific campaigns or create new campaigns targeting with that list. Hope that answers your question, Emlyn. And I think that's all we have. So. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Yeah, and you know, if you do have any follow-up questions, please reach out to your account managers. The Google support and live chat is absolutely fantastic to help you with the nitty-gritty stuff. And we really hope you've had some valuable takeaways to get the most out of this holiday season. It's so important. So yeah, thanks for listening.
Thanks for your engagement, guys. And as we mentioned throughout, let's keep those lights on, ensure the basics are met and that we're competitive on mobile, and re-engaging with the right people at the right times. So hopefully you'll have a massive Black Friday and Cyber Monday, and continuing on for the rest of Q4. Thank you.
Perfect.